America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we have a roll call, Bonnie?
Yes. Mr. Bova?
Here.
Mrs. Cerrucci?
Here.
Mr. Gottman?
Here.
Dr. Kalkstein? Dr. Kalkstein?
He is not on the line yet, Bonnie. We're not sure if he'll be joining.
Mr. Lapsevich?
Here.
Mr. McIntyre?
Here.
Mr. Ritter?
Here.
Mrs. Warning?
Here.
Mr. Williams?
Here.
Dr. Kalkstein, do we have him on the phone?
He said he might be in the meeting, so we're trying to reach him.
Okay.
We're going to start with him. Okay. I would like to invite the Interact Club to come forward for their student presentation. You guys introduce yourselves.
I'm going to tell you a little bit about Interact today. I'm going to start off with Coffee for a Change, which we held back in December. Coffee for a Change is held at North American Martyrs Church every year. We have free cups of coffee and hot chocolate for everyone that comes and helps support us. The coffee is from Fair Trade, and we also have bake sale. During this, there's 5 different vendors from all over the world that Fair Trade has items from. We had over 200 guests relax with their cups and cookies. We had 27 student performers that performed during the coffee night to provide music and entertainment. So the coffee comes from 2 fair trade organizations. These are Building New Hope and Equal Exchange. We've been working with them for about 15 years for Coffee for a Change. So Equal Exchange is an organization that goes into areas of poverty and buys coffee from poor farmers above market value. And then we then sell the coffee, and then they make a profit on it so that they can put the money back into their communities and try to help bring them out of the poverty level. On top of that, we also sell any extra profits we make we give all of the extra profits we make from the bake sales and everything back to those communities to give them a little additional help. Okay,
So here is a letter from Building New Hope that we got. It says, "Dear Sean, thank you for your gift. Together we can have an impact for those in need. With your help, we continue to work across cultural, economic, and political borders in order to promote economic equality and environmental sustainability. This includes partnering with communities in Central America and communities in Western Pennsylvania who share our vision of people-centered development. We operate with the dedication of our Nicaraguan teaching staff 2 supplemental schools for at-risk youth, which support about 150 students. And we sponsor 20 merit-based high school scholarships for the top students at those schools. A chance at education improves the future for young people in need. We support the worker-owned organic coffee cooperative El Porvenir with our Fair Trade Organic Coffee Project. In addition to marketing their coffee to help them gain critical access to coffee drinkers, we provide educational grants and support bird-friendly coffee certification for the farm to help the community preserve and sustainably manage the 2,000 acres of native tropical forest they call home." So in addition to Coffee for Change, we also host other events such as Multicultural Festival, and we also host our weekly Tuesday paper recycling where we go around the high school and recycle paper.
In addition to this, we also started volunteering at Fish Rise last year, and we continued it this year. We helped a couple different churches last year. This year, we're helping the Church of the Resurrection. They actually just sent us a card that they all signed thanking us for all of our help. The students will help serve the food. A couple even got to help make the fish and everything. But it's a lot of fun. We also have coming up, Jack said Black Day. A bunch of us are going to volunteer and help clean up the community. And we're always looking for all kinds of things that we can help volunteer at, and we've been very active over the past couple months. Years. Well, for this year I met.
How many members do you have? Do you know?
Right now I have about 154.
Who is that man helping
Wow.
you from the audience?
Who's that hidden man
Step
behind the
up to the
curtain?
microphone so people at home can hear.
Hello, hi, I'm Sean Whelan. I'm at the high school, and I've been running Interact for about 20 years now.
Decades.
I took over from Bob Dowds, and I've been very blessed to work with students like this and many others over the years, and we try to do as much as we can. We do a lot of work for autism through our Teen Marchers for Maddie Wallace, and we're just always looking for things to do, and we try to give back as much as we can. So it's been a wonderful experience, and these kids are a testament to that. These two alone have donated how many hours? Probably 1,000 hours at least.
Wow.
Between the two of them. So, but yeah, the events, the Coffee for a Change, we started. Yeah, it was our 15th year. So we've donated thousands of dollars back to these organizations, for these fair trade organizations, and it's been a really interesting ride, so to speak.
That's incredible.
Questions?
Anybody else have any questions for Interact Club?
Just thank you, Mr. Whelan, for all of the years. Many times I run across you and your students after school, and a tremendous amount of work, volunteerism that happens, and it's great for our community and great for the school district.
If you ever
Happy that
need
you
any
could come
volunteers,
share
let
with us.
know.
Okay, we will.
How many students are involved?
It varies. I mean, right now I have about 154 that say they're in Interact, but I get a lot of support. That fish fry alone, there's probably going to be about 30 kids involved over the course of the next few weeks. So they desperately need our help. So it's been really helpful to them.
Wonderful.
That's great. Thanks for coming out and sharing.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to us.
Yes.
Next, I would like to invite Mr. Rovesti up to the microphone, please.
It's my honor and privilege that I'm going to introduce Olivia Livingston. Something about Olivia, number one, she's a great teammate. She's an outstanding student, and she happens to do a little bit of swimming. It's very, very, very difficult to win the WPL championship. She has won 6. 2-time this year. It's even tougher to win a state championship, and she has won 3. In all those, well, she won WPL, 3 WPL titles in the 50 freestyle race, and 3 in the 100-yard freestyle race. Then at the state tournament, 3 PIA titles in 50 free. So great kid, great student. What a student athlete is all about is this humble young lady who is loved by her teammates. 2 years ago when we had the pep assembly talking about the different sports, standing ovation. And it hasn't affected her in any way. She's just that great a kid.
And even
Would you like
more
to say
difficult to get on the cover of the Gateway to Education magazine.
And I do
That in
have
itself.
I do have an autographed copy of that, by the way.
I know you do.
And I do myself.
Congratulations, Olivia.
Proudly displaying those medals.
I know.
How was the experience this time around at the state level?
It was great. I'm always happy to win a title because I work so hard every single day, and I'm very blessed to have these opportunities because not many people get to have these opportunities, so I'm very happy about it.
How many hours a week do you swim?
Oh gosh.
I'm looking at mom and dad like,
Well, I swim at least 6 days a week, and those are at least 2 hours. And then in the summer, I do swim 9 times a week, so I'll have doubles 3 days. And so I'll do 2 hours in the morning and then at least an hour and a half at night. So all of that.
That's an awful lot of swimming.
Olivia, I have to say, when they interviewed you after winning the 50 and they asked you what your future plans were, and you said the 100. And it was just the way even the announcer said what a humble person she is. And Ms. Rivesta, you forgot what a role model she is to these students. So, I mean, it's just, I've been going to the swim meets, and just to see the way the swim team, it's unique how they are. They're cheering on each other, you know, wherever they are and the thing. But George is, no, yes, he's swimming. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I see that. I see that. But it's just, Olivia, just watching you and the whole team, very thankful that you're a part of Gateway.
Thank
Wish you
you.
the best of luck.
Thank you.
And Randy, I'm looking it up on the pcntv.org website, and from time to time, they replay those states events. I can't find it the next week, but keep your eye open there. You can watch all of PCNTV's swimming and diving championships for the states. PCN TV.
Just real quick, I'm assuming this is your family here with you. I think they definitely deserve some recognition. You know, those kind of hours, and to be able to maintain the grade point average and everything that you do, and to the humbleness that you obviously show, I think a lot of that comes from them. So, excellent job to all you folks there.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you for coming out. All right, next on our agenda is our presentation from Pixelot. Is that ready, Maiko? Is that coming from
Mr.
there?
Brown, Maiko.
Michael.
Bob.
He's coming.
He's coming.
Are you ready, sir, for our Pixelot video presentation?
Yeah, do you want me to play video first?
You want to kind of introduce
yes,
what it is? Or?
Could maybe do a quick introduction. As part of our upgrades and constantly looking at innovation with technology, Mr. Maiko Brown and myself came across a Pixelot technology. It's a game changer, and no pun intended, because that's part of their advertisement there. But it's been called a magic camera. We have one posted and stabilized within the sports complex. And it really is able to televise and stream live any game, activity, event within the sports complex, and eventually out onto the stadium and perhaps even into our auditorium. And we're going to give a quick overview of how this technology works with a video, and then discuss how we apply the technology for our constituents.
As Dr. Schwartz said, the Pixelot can be used for a wide variety of sports. So I'm just going to show you a quick little video of all of those sports that it works with, and to give you an idea of what it can capture.
Bonnie, could you? Thank you.
So from all those videos that you saw, there wasn't a human involved in producing those videos. This was 100% done automatically with that Pixel camera system. What it does is it continuously watches not just what you're looking at, but the entire field. So this is what the Pixel sees. It sees the entire field, all the action that's going on, and it selects where the ball is or where the action is, and it zooms in and highlights that specific area. So we can capture now any event that occurs in our gyms and the stadium on any of our fields without having someone there. Meaning we can capture more events than we've ever had before, which will greatly increase exposure for those under.
And events that typically are not televised or streamed, as an example, volleyball matches. Recently, we had our mini-thon televised or streamed live that you're able to pull up through National Federation of High School, NFHS. And Micah, could you show how we apply this technology and are able to download it onto our website?
Yeah, so it's not on the front page just yet. It will be as of tonight. If you go to our website, www.gatewayk12.org/live, you'll be presented with this page, which in addition to our YouTube channels, which most of you are familiar with for our school board meetings and other events, we have a link here for the NFHS network. When you go here, it will show you the upcoming events as well as all the events that were previously filmed. We don't have too many in there yet, but again, this is all automatic. So once we put the schedules in, it just keeps going and going and going, and this will keep populating.
So this could be for 9th grade, junior varsity, varsity, volleyball, you name it. We can stream it live throughout the country. We all know that relatives, aunts, uncles are always
Military,
around different states,
overseas.
military. And this is an example of what you will see by simply streaming live at that point in time or on demand.
Yeah, so this is the mini-thon kickoff event where they're currently doing a tug of war. And again, it automatically selected the best angle for the court, and it's streamed live to the internet, and it automatically uploaded when it was done.
Does it also get like the sound from the crowd and everything like
Yes, I actually just turned
that?
off the speaker so it wouldn't interrupt.
And then is there the capability for on-screen graphics display, like scoreboard type things?
Yes.
Can you pull up a basketball game to show?
Not with the scoreboard.
I know we were having. I heard we were having. There was maybe some issues
Yeah,
with
we had to
that.
rerun a wire in the sports complex, so I can show you what it would look like.
Mike, I'm not going to interrupt. Just notice how clear the picture is. It's phenomenal.
Can players download clips if they want to make their own highlight videos?
Yes, they have to create an account, which is actually what it's asking me to do right now. I'm not logged in.
Are the cameras part of the, where are the cameras located in all?
One camera.
One camera, the press box area of the sports complex, those two rooms up there. You'll see it just hanging right there. It's one camera.
How much are they?
And then how does it go to the other events?
Well, we have to have
Like you
one,
wanted to do swimming?
multiple
you just
cameras.
take it and
Multiple
record them?
cameras, yes. Mhm.
Oh, okay.
I don't have the actual.
one camera per facility, I think is what he means. One in the gym,
One for
one
the
in the
whole
pool,
period.
one in the
Yes.
football field.
So you just don't need software.
As an example, Mr. Helchi had contacted me. They have a Winter Guard, Keller Guard event in the sports complex. We're able to just dial that in and stream it live.
So this is when they were doing warm-ups. Again, it started recording a little bit before the game. So as you see, it has the home team as well as the away team and the score as well as the time. And again, all automatic.
Load that up.
Yep.
You gotta move that podium.
That's very clear.
Yes.
Yeah. And when it zooms out all the way, you can see the entire court. So if something's going on in the whole court, it will capture that as well.
So as you can see, the ball's moving down the court, the camera moves down.
Yeah. So it saw that they were now shooting a basket, so it caught them. Again, all autonomous.
Pretty cool stuff.
What's the price on a camera?
I believe it was $10,000 for both of them, but then there was a subscription involved. So it's not that much to put it out, and the subscription is shared amongst all of them, so it's one subscription. We can add, say, the baseball field, the middle school field, all on top of that.
So this basically eliminates our need for
Crew.
staff and a crew to video
For
some of
some
these
events,
events?
yes. So, for example, graduation, where you want someone maybe on the field to capture something, or in the case of football, maybe you want an instant replay. You would need a human to coordinate that. However, this will get any event that right now is underserved, where we don't have a crew for it.
Great. Mr. Ritter should like that.
Will you be able to do this like live if you get the new scoreboard and put that on the scoreboard as the game's being played, so that somebody could watch it? Just watch the scoreboard while they're in the stadium?
I don't think, you can't play live video on the scoreboard during the game.
No, but could it be done?
Yes, you can.
is what he's saying.
Not during the
Maybe
game.
our new one.
No, that's probably, I have to imagine that's against what they.
No, he's just asking if it could be done. Could it be, just say if.
We're not
it's the
sure.
hoop game.
Yeah, we have rights
We
to
watch it live
rebroadcast as
on
part of
the-
the subscription that we're paying for, so
We
we
watch it
could
live.
take it and air it on channel 13, let's say. If we're allowed to play it in the stadium.
watch
there's
it
no
live.
This
restriction
is
for
live,
that.
it's on streaming.
So you could film the football.
Can
game,
rebroadcast
it'll Be live on the scoreboard, is what he's saying. Even though it's not a.
Technically,
allowed.
yes, but I think that would be a violation.
Right, but it could be done.
He thinks it's a WPIAL violation to do that.
I don't think you can have action on the scoreboard while.
You could, yeah, you could see it live,
Not during.
Yeah, you could. It could be.
After
seen
play, yes, you can show. replay.
anywhere
Again,
live.
different games would have different regulations, so, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Micah.
Thanks, Micah.
Anybody else have any questions for Michael? No. Okay. Next up on our agenda is comments from residents on agenda items. Anybody sign up to speak? No. Is there anyone here who would like to address the board on any agenda item? Okay. Minutes of previous meetings, Section A.
So moved.
Second.
I didn't even read it. Are there any questions on the minutes from the previous meeting? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye if you would like to approve the minutes. Aye. Opposed? None? Motion passes. All right, Section B, financial reports. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Ritchie. Section B, resolved that the Gateway Board of School Directors approve Section B1 list of bills, B2 monthly financial statements, and B3 budget transfers as listed in Section B at the Tuesday, March 19, 2019 regular board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions for Mr. Shaw? Seeing none? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cerucci?
Aye.
Mr. Gottman?
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich?
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Mrs. Warning?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Bova?
Aye.
Okay. Section C, items previously tabled, we have none, so we'll move to Section D, personnel agenda. Mrs. Crump.
Thank you, Mr. Rucci. Resolved that the Gateway Board of School Directors accepts and approves the personnel agenda items 1 through 6 as listed in Section D for the regular board meeting of Tuesday, March 19th, 2019. We do have one item that has been added since the agenda meeting last, and that's under 4A, a school police officer, Brian Ravitch. That will give our list up to 12.
How do you say that last name?
I believe is Ravitch. I apologize, Brian.
I'm kidding. That's a really hard spelling.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments for Mrs. Crump?
Mrs. Crump, the police officer that's leaving, how long was he with the district?
Less than about a year.
He's going to another school that's starting a school police force, correct?
Yes. The majority of our police that we have lost have gone to other districts.
I mean, I think it's a wonderful thing. Are we training these guys to do what they need to do in the school, and they're taking it with them, or are they coming with the information before they leave?
It depends on the situation. Some we are training. We do have a program in place that if we have trained them especially to be school police officers, that if they leave within a certain amount of time, they do have to reimburse us back for part of that training, once we realized that that was something that we started losing.
Okay, the bulletproof vests, I know we have some here, and that we have. Are they using them with not being fitted, or how is that working?
I would have to check with Officer Key. We are reusing them. Some of the people who left purchased their vests, so then we take that to reapply and buy new ones. But I can check with him to find out for sure.
No, I just want to make sure they fit correctly. So, thank you, that's all.
Anybody else? This is something that we have to address for next year's budget issue. When we started our school police force, we were the only one in Allegheny County, and now everybody's doing it. And now there's a great amount of competition for our officers. So it's something that is on our radar and that we need to address so that we don't lose more officers. We've had many discussions about this. So can we have a roll call, Bonnie, on Section D, Personnel Agenda?
Mr. Gottman.
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich.
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mrs. Warning.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Bova.
Aye.
Mrs. Cerucci.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Again, we do want to call attention to Paula Conley and wish her the best in her retirement. She has served 18 years with the district, and I know we did that last time, but I believe she deserves it again.
Yes, indeed. Section E, Conferences and Conventions. Is that you, Dr. Chakey?
Thank you, Ms. Cerucci. Resolved that the Gateway Board of School Directors approves and authorizes the following conferences and conventions as listed in Section E at the regular board meeting of Tuesday, March 19th. I'd like to add that there were 2 conferences that were added after the study session.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions, comments? Seeing none? Bonnie?
Roll call. Mr. Lapsevich.
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mrs. Warning.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Bova.
Aye.
Mrs. Cerucci.
Aye.
Mr. Gottman.
Aye.
Okay. Section F, Administrative Reports. Dr. Short.
Let's go right to Mr. Schott. Why don't you take a majority of these?
Thank you, Dr. Short. Item number 1, Trauma-Informed Care for Educators. Approve the Trauma-Informed Care for Educators training with family behavioral resources for 1 full-day session. Item number 2, 30-day public display of the AP World History textbook for the textbooks as listed below. Item number 3, approve the project proposal with Attack Theater to explore various ways of integrating curriculum through dance, movement, and dialogue within physical education and music classes depicted in Exhibit B. Item number 4, facility agreements for the following 3. Please note that Nitro Fast Pitch at the sports complex for the days as indicated, an amount of $600 was added after study session meeting. Item number 5, approve the affiliation agreement with Chatham University as depicted in Exhibit C. Item number 6, approve the extension of the preventive maintenance service agreement for the 2 high school weight rooms and the 1 Gateway Middle School weight room with G&G Fitness Equipment in the amount of $2,600 for the period of July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2020, as depicted in Exhibit D. Item number 7, acceptance of district donations received during the 2018-2019 fiscal year as depicted below. Just in summary, various donations for the backpack program at the University Park Elementary School, and also book donations from United Way of Southwestern PA for all the district's elementary schools. Item number 8, approve the advertisement of the district's milk bid for the milk services and related food items for the district's food service department during the 1920 fiscal year. Item number 9, approve the 2019-2020 fiscal year Allegheny Intermediate number 3's program of services budget, and that's depicted in Exhibit E. Item number 10, approve the IDEA Part B use of funds subgrant agreement with the Allegheny Intermediate Unit number 3 for 2019-2020 fiscal year. That's depicted in Exhibit F. Item number 11, approval of Attachment A, Notice of Adoption of Policies, Procedures, and Use of Funds by School District of the Allegheny Intermediate number 3, IDEA Part B for the 1920 fiscal year as depicted in Exhibit G. Item number 12, approve the purchase of the Raptor Visitor Management Solution for Divine Mercy Academy as outlined in the Title IV Federal Programs Regulations and is depicted in Exhibit H. Item number 13, approve the capital repair project for installation of a secure entrance into the athletic office and high school sports complex, comprising materials and labor for the door installation from AG Mario Company, wall partitions from Monroeville Glass Block Company, and all wiring for a door access control system through the district's maintenance department at a grand total amount of $13,000 for an entire project to be completed during 1920 fiscal year. And I believe Mr. Brown, if he's available, he actually has the rendering of what this will look like.
We were asked to put together a picture last week.
It was good. You did good.
And if you notice on this picture, we have an exterior door on the outside, a single door.
Micah, you're good.
He put this together real fast.
I know he
Excellent
did.
job. This picture, believe it or not, that door is not there. We would be adding that door. It's there.
It's only there in the photo.
And it would allow an individual to walk into that little vestibule right before entering the athletic director's office. And that door would then allow or disallow an individual from entering into the foyer of the sports complex, thus eliminating an individual from accessing the stairwell and the crosswalk to the high school.
Clever, I like it.
Very good.
Does that clarify what we were talking about last
That
week?
helps a
I
lot.
think it really does help.
George, how do you like it?
Do you like
Micah,
George?
thank you very much. Excellent job on that. Bonnie?
Okay.
Item number 14,
I got a purpose.
approve the advertisement for the partial roof replacement at the high school as a capital repair project to be completed during the 1920 fiscal year. Item number 15, approve the hiring of Arison Architecture and the net total amount of $14,850 to assist with the preparation of the required project bid specifications and corresponding documents for the partial roof replacement at the high school to be completed during the 1920 fiscal year. Item number 16, approve the awarding of wiring installation services and UPS equipment for battery backups purchased Advent Communications Incorporated and SHI in the pre-discount total amount of $154,207.94, as well as the formal submission of E-rate Forms 471 for participation in E-rate program for the 1920 fiscal year. Finally, item number 17, approve the partnership for a pilot program and the mutually confidentiality agreement with Cognistic LLC, DBA Cognistics, for the utilization of Marauders Map artificial intelligence and machine learning technology for school safety at an estimated initial cost of approximately $65,000 during the 1920 fiscal year, as well as an estimated $1,200 ongoing monthly cost for the software.
And just for the board's information, we did reach out to Sanjay Chopra, CEO of the company. Maiko, you out there a minute? Part of the questions that we have, whether or not the cameras and how many and exterior, interior cameras, and also some zones that would be covered. In my conversation with Mr. Brown, it appears that that number will come down significantly. We don't know exactly yet, but we will have confirmed numbers very soon. But there will be a significant drop, not only in the initial amount, but also for the monthly as well.
You still want this on the agenda?
I move to be approved 1 through 16, please.
Second.
Okay, roll call on, well, discussion first, I'm sorry.
Can we discuss
1 to
17?
16 we can discuss right now.
All right, I got a question. On, which one was it? The number 13, the door? Yeah. First off, gotta thank Mr. Brown for the rendition. I was expecting an artist rendition, not that. That was amazing. So my only two questions are, one, looking at what he showed for the exterior, you know, if I'm just a regular Joe or a parent coming up and I'm going to a sports complex, is there gonna be, one, any sign that just says, this is the door I need to enter in? Most people can go for the big set of doors. Is there gonna be any way to determine, hey, no, I have to go over here?
I'd write athletic office on it.
We would add signage to the doors, absolutely.
Okay.
Good idea.
And question 2 is, I know Mr. Williams brought this up last week, and just wondering if this was confirmed. So you questioned the use of the glass block because it doesn't provide as much visibility through it. Is it determined that would be the best material to use on the sides of the door?
There's no need for that. The whole rest of the front of the building is glass.
No matter what you think is going to hold up.
Micah,
and
could you
look
put
good.
that picture back up, please?
The glass block, I think, is coming
Glass
inside
block
the
one.
building.
Yeah.
Yeah, right there.
It's inside the building.
So it provides enough visibility for the person inside to see
It's a
someone.
glass door, so.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see through the door, that's about it.
Okay. That's all. Thank you.
You can see them through the door.
I have a question on number 15. The roof. Mr. Bova, maybe you might help with this since you have experience with council down Pitcairn. You guys use an engineer down there, correct?
We have, just like we have a solicitor contracted with in the borough, we have an engineer.
I was just wondering if it would be cheaper to use an engineer rather than an architect firm to do bid specifications for roofing and stuff of that nature.
I can't speak to what architects charge, but I can say that using an engineer is, first of all, relatively inexpensive, but more than that, they've got both experience with a wide range of tasks and disciplines, plus the one that we happen to work with in Pitcairn also has a lot of experience working with folks like PennDOT. So any kind of work you're doing that requires permits and things like that, they're able to not only expedite those things, but often get approval that you might not otherwise get. And having an engineer that has time to become familiar with your school, with your facilities, especially the way they charge is relatively inexpensive, and I know different engineers have different methods. I think that'd be a great asset both to Mr. Brown and the school district. We've talked about it just informally a couple of times. I think that would be worthwhile bringing any of them in. I mean, I've worked with a couple different engineering firms. Bring them in to meet with Dr. Short, Mr. Brown, us, and then the board, talk about what they can actually bring. I know that, again, the one I've worked with in Pitcairn, they already work with the school district. So they're currently working with the school district. So they could tell us how they could help. And I think it's a worthwhile thing to pursue. I appreciate you bringing that up, Mr. Williams.
I think that's an excellent idea, maybe something to look at as a position moving forward. I think specifically with this project, if I remember correctly from Mr. Brown, this particular firm has experience with this roof in particular. They have some on-hand knowledge, measurements, things that if we brought in an engineer, they would have to redo. And if I'm not correct, or if I'm not mistaken, we have a credit with this architecture firm as well. So no matter, even if we add an engineer, we would probably still go this way and see savings.
Future.
Yes, I think it's a great idea moving forward, as Coach Sullivan would say.
That's all I have, Mr. Rucci.
Does anyone else have any other questions on 1 to 16? Go ahead, Mr.
I just want to
Lexler.
thank the board for trying to pass this number 13 with the secure entrance. I think it's a good gesture on our part, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, Bonnie, 1 to 16.
Mr. McIntyre.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mrs. Warning.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Bova.
Aye.
Mrs. Cerucci.
Aye.
Mr. Gottman.
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich.
Aye.
Motion to table number 17 until we have an actual dollar amount we can vote on.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bova. Roll call on table, Bonnie.
Okay,
Discuss
Mr.
this?
No,
No.
once it's
Oh, that's
once
right.
it's
Sorry,
the table, you have
right,
to.
yep, sorry about that.
Mr. Ritter.
No.
Mrs. Warning?
No.
Mr. Williams?
No.
Mr. Bova?
No?
Mrs. Cerucci?
No.
Mr. Gottman?
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich?
No.
Mr. McIntyre?
Aye.
Motion fails.
Okay, motion fails, so we have a motion on the table. Can I have a motion to approve item 17?
So moved.
Is there a second to approve 17?
Second.
Now we can open up for discussion.
Yes, I'd like to ask Rick a question. Why would you want to wait until we have, it says it's an estimate, so you're looking for like a hard estimate?
I'm looking for a better estimate. We don't know what it's gonna cost yet.
We know it's going to cost $65,000 or less.
Correct, but I don't think it's responsible for us to vote on something when we don't have all the particulars yet.
I do. You
I-
realize that this is an opportunity that no one else in the entire country
I
has to work
agree, and
with
I want to take
CMU
advantage of the
on
opportunity.
development of a
And obviously,
cutting-edge technology.
they're gonna have to come up with that number before we move forward one way or the other.
So I guess a good question would be, do they know what the number would be? If we would ask them, I mean, this is an initial installation, they might not yet know exactly how much it's gonna cost them. They might be willing to install it anyway, just to get it in, because they must have a proof of concept.
Well, that's a lot of assumptions that I'm not going to vote on taxpayer money for, but
Exactly.
as Dr. Short explained before we, got into this, we have reached out to them, and again, when they came and made their presentation, the number was higher than what we had discussed previously. And as Dr. Short just said, there's a lot of questions that still remain unanswered as far as how many buildings we're going to be implementing, how many systems, how many cameras, what kind of equipment they're going to have to bring in. And I think until we actually dot all those i's and cross all those t's, I don't think there's anything to vote on here. In concept, I love the idea. I want this program in the district. But I want to make sure that we actually know what we're voting on before we vote on it.
Well, you know that you're not spending in excess of that amount of money, Mr. McIntyre, because if we vote on this dollar amount, they can't exceed that.
Correct.
So we know that this price will not exceed, and we have a certain assurity that it will be less. But what we don't have a certain assurity of is that if we vote this down, that they won't take their pilot program to another school.
That's why we should have tabled it. But if we vote and approve $65,000 right now, if I'm that company, I'm going to get $65,000 for this installation.
Can I make a comment?
You sure can.
It's also saying here that it's $12,000 a month.
1,200.
12, I'm sorry, 1,200, I put the comma in the wrong place, 1,200 a month. So we're looking at that, 1,400 approximately for a year, which the 6,500 dropped to 79,000. So
Well,
you
keep in
don't
mind-
know.
Okay,
Pardon me?
finish. I think you're done.
So the 1,200 is going to be a monthly cost regardless.
An estimated cost, we don't know
Correct,
what that is.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We don't know a
It's for software
definite.
that's not been developed yet.
But it's also software that has to accommodate how many buildings. We don't know that yet. You know what I mean? So I just think there's too many unanswered
But you
questions
understand
for the
that a lot
dollars.
of this control is up to us.
Not if we give them, not if we allow them to charge us $65,000.
As far as what school, and part of that $65,000 is the cost of the equipment that we will own. It's not all a
Correct, but how
a
much of
fee.
it do we need if we're only going with one building versus every?
Well, I think that's our decision. Am I
Right, well,
not
let's make
right,
that
Dr.
decision and
Short?
get a number before we approve it.
Well, the second issue with this is, if we are the prototype and the prototype turns out to be successful, they'll want to sell it in other schools as well, and then there'll be an economy of scale, which theoretically should cause the cost of the item to decrease. So there's another variable in it. We don't know whether it's going to go down or up. We would think it would go down, but we're not sure yet.
Mr. Bova.
Well, it seems to me that Rick's right, there is a range that we're not sure of, but if we establish the maximums that we're talking about, I personally am not only comfortable with those maximums for this kind of technology, but once again, we get in a position where if this kind of technology is emerging and available for the security of our staff and our teachers and our kids, and we don't take advantage of it as quickly as possible, I'm more uncomfortable with that. So for me, it's a pretty simple thing. We've established this as the outer limit of what we're gonna pay, understanding that maybe somewhere in an office right now, they were thinking they could get it down to 55, and now they got an extra 10 grand out of us. that hurts a bit, but for me, it's a reasonable trade-off.
How much will it interface with what we have already in place? I know I asked if we can use the same cameras.
Yeah, it'll incorporate all of our
Right.
cameras.
Absolutely.
So I know
Most of the
talking,
cost was, I believe, for
Server,
the
cloud.
server and the storage.
will it be their people that run it? Or will Gateway, are we putting it on our, Micah?
If I understand the technology, the point of this is
They're
they
developing it.
use our models to teach the computers for the things we're looking for, and then ultimately the computer is the thing that sees the activity and alerts our security. So
Yeah, so the system will be autonomous, similar to the Pixelot, but the training and the setup will be very labor intense, so they will be coming in to do that. I know the principal at the high school would like to get students involved because this is a brand new field of programming, artificial intelligence, that he would like the kids to actually be involved in the development of the system. We don't know yet how much they can get involved due to the nature of what it is, but it is something that getting the professionals involved with the school would probably help the students as well.
How do we know how many buildings would we be trying to implement this in?
This will just cover the high school.
So we're just going to high school. Is this company aware of that decision?
Yes.
And that didn't change this number at all?
So we're narrowing down the scope of it. When our initial discussion, I was explaining how many cameras we had in the high school and in each of the buildings. We selected the high school, but that number included exterior cameras and cameras in large areas that it doesn't make sense to do this type of monitoring. So we're narrowing down what we're going to be monitoring, which is going to reduce the server requirements and the maintenance costs.
Okay, how, like, if we did either decide again to table this or vote against this tonight, would it be conceivable to have a more accurate number by the next study session?
Yes, I've been going back and forth with them, and they've been working with their team. Because this is all very new, it's even hard for them just to turn around a number quickly. So we are working on getting a hard number to it.
So if we didn't vote on this tonight, it doesn't,
Going to pick up.
doesn't pan the entire idea, doesn't kill the process.
How do you know that?
Why
How do
would
you know
it?
that?
But the point is,
Because we-
You're making a lot of assumptions.
I'm assuming that we can put this on the agenda for the next study session.
we're already voting.
You don't know what the vendor is going to do if you say no to this tonight.
That's why I wanted to table it.
The
But if we say-
tabling did not get passed.
I understand
It's not
that.
tabled.
I understand that. If we say no to it tonight, based on the idea that we want a more firm and concrete number moving forward,
So you're asking for a more firm and concrete number for something that the company has never developed and created before,
Yeah,
Mr.
from a
McIntyre. Do you
software-
realize
because they
that?
said,
From a
once
software
they
engineering
have,
perspective, I can tell you that this is a very difficult number for software engineers to come up with.
I understand that, but based on the change in our scope, they came up with this number somehow.
Exactly.
So I think once we give them a more accurate view of our scope and how many cameras and what we're doing, I would think they would be able to come up with another number.
Rick, they're running the project. We're not telling them how many cameras we're using to do this, correct, Maiko?
Yes, we are.
They are developing the software and they are
Yeah.
determining what is needed.
Yeah, in the end, what they're gonna have to do is go through every camera and look at our floor plans and decide what makes sense to be covered. Because there could be areas that are covered by 2 cameras equally well, so that could reduce our numbers more. So it is hard until they really get going to know fully, but in the end, they would have to decide that.
So, I mean, I appreciate, Mr. McIntyre, your viewpoint and your concern about the amount spent, but just so I'm clear, we already voted not to table it, we've already.
We're in discussion before the
Okay,
vote.
right, okay, gotcha.
Micah, with your discussions you've been having, you've been talking money at all?
A little. It's more about what is affecting the cost. So, is it how many cameras? Is it as simple as that, or is it what we're doing with the cameras? And it is a mixture. We could just have a few cameras, but if we're doing some really intense processing on those few cameras, it would change. And so until they see what we want to detect and how our schools are laid out, they won't know that amount. But we've been working on like what variables there are.
And it's conceivable that the number could come in higher than 65.
No, if we
Why?
vote on,
If
if
we
we
don't
vote,
know, we don't know. It may end up that there are more hurdles to come across than originally anticipated. As Mr. Ritter explained, this is a very difficult thing to to make an assessment on it, because this has never been done, it's very possible it could come up just over 65, and all of a sudden we're.
I think Mr. Shaw's trying to
we're back
comment on that.
In terms of how this was set up, from the initial numbers provided to the district, and even just an update that Mr. Brown had provided me a little while ago, the one number appeared to have come down slightly, but the monthly amount had gone up slightly, but is still estimated. When you look at how this is written with the $65,000, the $1,200 a month, which times 12 would be $14,400, plus the $65,000, looking at the total maximum amount of $79,400. So looking at what that total pot of money is for this project, it allows you some fluctuation. And again, this is only for one fiscal year, 1920. So we have some flexibility in terms of the upfront hardware installation cost, the 65, maybe it's less. Maybe some of that needs to go to the monthly maintenance amount for that. The other nice thing it does for this is that we are currently working on our 1920 budget, and it enables us to put a number in that budget right now. And it appears from this second revision that it'll come in less than this amount. But again, we're capping it at this total 79.4 for the 1920 fiscal year.
So it cannot exceed, is what you're saying. It
Correct.
cannot exceed
Would
what
not
we,
exceed
if we
that
vote on
amount.
this tonight, it cannot exceed it.
In some combination
And
of
Paul, do you
factor
think
of
it
these
would
estimated
need to be
amounts.
run in the summer? Do you think we would need to identify bad actors during the summer when most classrooms are closed?
Well, that's a question. I'm not sure whether there would be a fee incurred during that period of time, or whether we'd be looking at, like, say, 10 months or 9 months, or that, I don't.
Yeah, I don't think we discussed that, but we did discuss, they wouldn't start charging us those fees until the system is up and running. So while they're developing it to a certain point, we won't be paying those monthly fees.
And they did
So-
say it was like 4 to 6 months before they would be up and running, correct, at the last?
Yeah, and I'm not sure we would want shut off dates.
Correct.
Are
During
you,
the calendar year.
and are you also, you implied you're kind of asking for this so you can help for budgeting for next year? Is that what you said? Did I hear that
Most
correctly?
certainly, to have a placeholder for the budget, so we have a numbers. Again, we're setting the bar where the maximum amount would be, and the expectation, particularly if it's not going to go into place July 1st. Obviously, we're going to be paying less in monthly maintenance fees just from the start, from the onset of the 1920 fiscal year.
So it's safe to say that it's a pilot program. We don't have a lot of facts on exactly what it's going to cost because there's going to be a lot of decision to be made as we move along the road with the company. However, we're trying to come up with a budgetary number for our budget for next school year, and we're not going to exceed that, but we have high expectations and good faith that it will be less.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Well said.
Mr.
Very
Lepsovich?
good.
Thank you. Mr. Shaw, is there any funding out there, any kind of like state funding to help us along with this?
Well, I know we have the safety grant money we've utilized already for that, but even.
Would they anticipate perhaps that reopening next year, that some of the monies could be applied to that?
That's possible.
Because we used the metal detectors
It would-
for this current year.
It would be possible. Well, the only thing I would say that probably would not be for this particular project, now, again, there may be other state grants, other safety grants that may be out there, is that the problem with how the safety money was structured was that the issue of supplement. So for instance, one of the things we couldn't do, we already have a police force, so we couldn't say we would like to pay for salaries of some of our officers because we were already paying for them. So in that case, we would be supplanting that. So again, we would be looking to supplement something potentially new. Anytime you're talking dollars that have that supplement tied to it, you're better off looking for new types of expenditures. That way you don't fall in that pitfall of being.
So if we wanted to expand, that, and that
Buy
grant
more
money-
Possibly to say maybe
cameras or
another
buy a new
building.
server
Sure,
or
brand new building would
another
be a brand
building.
new expenditure related to that, sure.
Okay.
That would fit the criteria.
All right, are we ready for a vote?
I got one last question, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, gonna look on long-term here, because I was thinking on the same lines, like if you want to expand. Yeah, for the pilot program, we're setting aside estimated, should not exceed, $1,200 for the ongoing monthly cost for the software. Would that also apply to some sort of grant if we expand to the other buildings? Are we still gonna be at that 1,200? Is that gonna have to be readjusted?
I guess that's what we'll have to we'll
I
have to see.
think in terms of square footage and what we're covering compared to the other buildings, it would be much less, a monthly.
Yeah, I would agree. Now, I will say this, part of those fees is for Amazon Web Services. As time goes on, those costs go down. So it's conceivable that even though we're expanding, the costs are declining in a way that we're not spending more, even though we're getting more services. Unfortunately, that's not really possible to predict, except for in a general term.
And then you mentioned with the servers, because we're only focused on high school because it would put not much wear and tear on it. Would we have to have additional servers for each individual school? Can we merge, say, two of the elementaries
So
onto one server?
our server infrastructure is centralized at the high school. So instead of, let's say, adding one server per building, 2 buildings could share the same server, as long as that server is not fully utilized. So it's very possible to do that.
So then would it occur like, so high school's 1,200, but then the other buildings would be their own individual bill?
Unfortunately, without knowing more about the software and how they're gonna have to divide up the cameras, I won't know how much they're gonna need. All I can say is it's not necessarily one server per so many cameras. They can share and be spread apart across multiple servers.
It also depends on how we utilize it. It's all about how much data we're
Yeah,
actually.
the elementaries, they might have different analytics running than in the high school. The high
Right,
school
so it all depends on how
But
much
that would
data
be,
we're trying to
you're
gather.
getting into like phase 2 of this project, and I don't think that would fall under the umbrella of what we're,
That's a good point.
our initial. So this is for 1 year, so I think we could, look, if we wanted to expand, I think that would be something that would be on the agenda for another day for an expansion and another budgetary number.
This
So
just
I don't
needs to
think
get up and
you're
running.
voting on that expansion right now. So I think it's time to call the vote. Can we have a roll call?
Yes. Mrs. Warning?
This is to approve this, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
That's correct. Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Bova?
Aye.
Mrs. Cerucci?
Aye.
Mr. Gottman?
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich?
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre?
All right.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Section G, there are none on the agenda, but are there any resolutions by board members? Any surprise resolutions? Good, okay, seeing none. Now would be comments from residents on non-agenda items.
What do you got, Dave?
I saw a hand, Dave.
I just wondered if that technology is gonna interface with the Gateway School District Police Force.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's who's gonna benefit from the most.
Anyone else like to address the board? Mr. Gallagher, Reverend Gallagher. State your name, please, for the record.
Scott Gallagher. I was asked to extend an invitation to the entire school board. The Monroeville Interfaith Ministerium is hosting our annual celebration of unity on Sunday, April the 7th at 4 p.m. That'll be at Monroeville United Methodist Church, the church just below the John F. Plaza. The theme for this year is Faith and Education Working for Unity in Monroeville. And you may be familiar with the speaker. Dr. Short has graciously accepted that invitation.
Well, thank you.
We want to extend an invitation to make sure that everybody is aware that they are invited. There is a potluck dinner after. However, we won't require you to bring a pot of luck with you.
Thank you, Reverend.
Thank you, Reverend.
Thank you for the invitation. I did reach out to Dr. Morse, and I thanked him as well, so thank you.
Anybody else like to address the board on non-agenda items? Okay. Reports. Would you like to go first or last?
Let me go first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Just want to thank everyone for their work, and it's been a lot of activity, a lot of flurry going on in the main office, and we are gearing up for our budget presentation. I know Mr. Shaw has been a frequent flyer up in my office, and I believe we have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow, 1 o'clock.
I can announce right now, our first Budget and Finance Committee meeting is scheduled for Thursday, March 28th at 6 p.m. in the Gateway High School LGI.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Okay. Mrs. Bungart, we haven't heard from you tonight.
Thank you. Nothing at this time.
Okay. Dr. Chaky?
Nothing further.
Dr. Rossi?
Nothing.
Mr. Schott?
Nothing further, thank you.
How many slides in this first presentation?
The usual.
Trying to limit them.
Who are we hiring, Mrs. Crump?
We have, if you check our website, we do have applications out for secretary, aides, and school police.
Great. Anything else?
Nothing at this time.
Mr. Ritter?
On the issue of the display of the national motto in schools, in public buildings, including schools, I've been doing some research, and I found this book written by someone that talks about America's display of flags and the Pledge of Allegiance in schools. And so this is a wonderful little pictorial book, suitable for about 6th grade reading, but just wonderful history of how the flag came to occur in all schools across the nation. So my goal would be to have a national motto displayed in schools
Are
as
you,
well.
are you able to share that book with Dr. Rossi?
Oh, sure.
So we can take a look at it. Thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Warning?
That's it, you're done, John.
That's it.
That was quick. Okay, first off, I just want to congratulate, last Thursday was National Honor Society inductees. It was a fantastic program. Many deserving students. Again, it's amazing what these kids bring to the table, and I just want to congratulate them all.
And also Mr. Whelan, who runs the National Honor Society as well, so does
Yes.
a tremendous job.
And this was Mr.
Wallace.
Wallace's last National Honor Society program, and
Will it be broadcast?
hey,
Yes.
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 Yes, Micah? He comes in.
Man
But
behind the curtain.
he's hiding.
So it's a, yeah.
It is a wonderful program. I just, the way they do it all, the kids are just so deserving. So congratulations to all them. And to Olivia, it's something, I have to admit, just watching these kids in the water, and she's just like them all. You know, she doesn't put herself on any pedestal or anything like that. She's just so humble. So again, congratulations to her. Now spring sports are up and running, correct, Mr. Brown? Yes. So we have lacrosse, girls softball, we have baseball, tennis, boys volleyball, and field and track. So did I miss any? I don't think so. That was it.
We were at the baseball game the other day.
Yes, we were at the baseball game. I have to thank his guys too, Mr. Brown's guys, for getting the fields ready with everything that they have to do. They did have the baseball field ready. I know there's things that need to be looked at and to address, but I'm just glad that they haven't had to cancel any games yet. The weather has been favorable and the fields have been looking good. So thank you for that also. And one last thing, I want to send out my condolences to the Monteleone family on the loss of their son Rocco. They just had that fundraiser for him, the rock and roll, and 2-year-old little boy just passed away on St. Patrick's Day. So sympathies to the family, and our prayers are with you at this time. And that's
Thank
it.
you. Thank you, Bob. George?
Yes, thank you. I had the privilege of attending the open house for vocational school last Thursday with my colleague Scotty Williams. I was amazed by the classes they are offering and all the people, men and women, in college material. But we need electricians, body workers, mechanics, because in the future, they're going to be the backbone of our nation. So I really was amazed with the vocational school. Thank you.
Mr. Bova?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. McIntyre?
I was going to pass and say nothing, but given the early report, I'll just say e pluribus unum and pass the mic to Mr. Gottman.
Thank you. Just one thing, we got a new artwork up. Our selection comes from the students of both Cleveland Stewart Elementary and Evergreen Elementary. The artwork is pretty, it's kind of psychedelic. If anybody has a chance to stop by and take a look at it, please do. And that's actually all I have for tonight.
Thank you. Nothing this evening.
Sorry, I'm looking up something for Bill. Who else has something?
We never let Bonnie speak.
Bonnie, do you have anything?
Mr. Dice?
First in all these years.
All right, there was an article that came out, publicsource.org, which I posted on my Mary Vestrucci Gateway School Board website today. about the racial achievement gap of half of Allegheny school districts. It's a-
Publicsource.org, if you go to that website. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, that's okay, go ahead.
Mary Niederberger, formerly of the Pittsburgh Tribune Review and Post-Gazette, education writer for nearly 3 decades. Interviewed myself, a number of different superintendents, and put together a nice little piece that I think highlights the work that we've been able to do here as a district.
She talks about a lot of other schools in the Pittsburgh area. She interviewed Dr. Short and quoted him in the article, and then she highlighted how Gateway School District had the highest performance of our African-American students in all of Allegheny County, which is
Publicsource.org. And I believe it's the lead story or article on that website.
the article is called "New Data Shows Racial Achievement Gaps at More Than Half of Allegheny County School Districts." I can send it to you. But anyway, I did post that on my page for those of you that are on social media, but it is a great article, and kudos to our faculty and staff in the school district for the programs that they've implemented. And I know we have ways to go, and we have a lot of room for improvement, but to be the best in the county is quite an accomplishment. So I wanted to highlight that too, and that's all I have. So with that, seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned.